Hello, 8th graders. My name is Mrs. Wickett, and I am introducing you to the novel To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Every year, I look forward to teaching this book. It is a literary giant, and I'm so excited for you that you get to read it for the very first time. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 1961, which is the highest award given to any piece of literature in a given year, and that should tell you right there that this book is something. I believe it fully deserved it. We'll have to see what you think when you get through it. Um, it was published in 1960. If we were in class, I'd be asking you what happened during the 1960s that might have influenced this writer. And I know one of you would tell me the civil rights movement, Mrs. Wickett, and you would be correct. This was the time when people were concerned about equal rights for all, including African Americans, and that had a big influence in this book. But the book is not set in the 1960s. The story takes place in the 1930s, which was the time of the Great Depression. The Great Depression was a time period when the economy fell flat all over the world. People lost their fortunes, mostly because the stock markets fell apart, and we had all kinds of other things that caused it as well. And you will notice that people in Macomb, Alabama, which is the imaginary town that she created, are very, very poor. The Jim Crow laws were in effect at this time. The Jim Crow laws were a set of segregation laws meant to keep African Americans and white people apart. And they were very racially biased. They were horrible laws that were in place, and they were things that you'll notice throughout the book. This was also the time when there were some famous trials called the Scottsboro trials. I only mention them because some people believe those trials had an influence on the plot of To Kill a Mockingbird. These were some trials that were very well publicized when when Harper Lee was just 6 years old, and they were all racially based. 9 men were accused of a crime that none of them committed, and many were convicted. So that maybe it had an influence, maybe it didn't. I'll let you decide later on. This is Lee's one great novel. Some people would say she published 2 novels in her lifetime, To Kill a Mockingbird and Go Set a Watchman. However, I would contend that she published just one. Go Set a Watchman was published the year before she died. She was well into dementia by then. Her family put it forward, and I think they were just meaning to gain some money. In fact, Go Set a Watchman was her first draft of To Kill a Mockingbird. She turned it into a publisher, and the publisher read it and said, hey, this has some merit. There are some really good scenes here and there that I really like. However, this doesn't hold together as a book at all. And what I'm really interested in are the flashback scenes where you have Scout as a young girl instead of an adult. So Harper Lee took 2.5 years then and went back and reworked the book. And that became the masterpiece we all know as To Kill a Mockingbird. She never tried to publish Go Set a Watchman. Not ever. And I don't think when she was in her, 88th year was really the time for her to have done it. Some people think To Kill a Mockingbird was just an autobiography all about her own life. Harper Lee herself said it wasn't, but it was real enough. She based a lot of her characters on real people, and real events influenced the things that she put forward. Those that say this is not a biography would bring up what you see on your screen right now. They took place, both of them, in a southern Alabama town. The fathers in each of them were similar. They were both lawyers. They were both in the legislature. Same characters in that the main character, Scout, and Harper Lee herself each had an older brother. And there was a playmate that came sometimes during the summer. In the book, you'll find that person to be Dill, and in real life, there was Truman Capote. Truman Capote, by the way, is also an author, and there's a whole nother backstory that has to do with him. Harper Lee was a big reader as a child, and Scout, the character, is an avid reader, and that's important in the book. And also, those trials. The Scottsboro trial, as I said, took place when Harper Lee was just 6 years old, and the main character, Scout Finch, is a 6-year-old girl when the trial of Tom Robinson takes place. So there are some similarities. Is it an autobiography? You'll have to decide. It is a book that's banned in a lot of schools, and a lot of libraries, a lot of places. And the reason for this would be two things. One, racial slurs. The N word is used continuously throughout the book, but anyone who really reads the book understands that Harper Lee is not putting that word in there because she's a racist. She's actually putting it in there to show you how wrong it was the way that word was used. It was accurate for the time period, but it's very hurtful. And her main character, Atticus, even talks about what a wrong thing it is to use that word. So as we're reading it, none of us will actually say the actual word. We will use the word Negro so that you'll know what was there, but we're not going to say the actual word because it's just too ugly. Also, the subject matter is very adult. The trial is very adult, but it is tastefully done. It's not graphic. It's not anything that would get a bad rating, I don't believe. Why is it loved? Well, the characters. Wait till you meet them. Love the characters in this book. The structure of the book is fascinating. When you get to the end of the book, it's going to be one of those wow moments. Gives me chills every single time. Meaningful themes. What she has to say will resonate with you in so many ways. I've had so many students that you would never dream would even care about a book who loved this one and were like, oh, that is so true. That Scout, she knew what she was talking about. And the writing style is delightful. So I can't wait for you to get started in Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird.